into our next town hall. The next town hall is going to take us over oh man, I thought I had yeah, so it's going to take us over to Officer Tatum. Again, I know everybody's not a fan of Officer Tatum, but this interview actually tells us a lot. This is going to be coming from the Cajun Navy. Opens up about their communication with the Wells family and how things changed as Ben Crump was introduced to the situation. So some good information here, and we're going to go ahead and get it lined up for y'all. So here we go.
And that was presented, and it was rejected. Easiest about this as it relates to the Nolan Wells case, I had no idea what the Cajun Navy was. At first, I was like, is this a part of the Navy? And then I realized very quickly this may be a private organization that does good work. But can you explain to the audience what exactly is the United Cajun Navy and what's your job description in that?
Sure, absolutely. First of all, thanks for having me. United Cajun Navy, we're a nonprofit. We're a 501c3. Easiest way to explain it is disaster response, relief, and recovery organization. So what I specialize in is search and rescue, search and recovery operations. I help find missing people. But outside of that, our organization does a lot of blue sky stuff. We do food drives. We do toy drive. Last year was close to 600,000 toys we handed out. So we really run the gamut from disasters and blue skies. You know, community involvement's the biggest thing, the easiest way to explain it.
That's awesome. And it's all volunteer work, or how's that work?
All volunteers, man. 100% volunteer.
Wow, that's incredible. And so as it relates to the Nolan Wells case, can you walk me through when you were first notified and what were the first few things that you did as a response?
Sure. So late that night, early Sunday morning, I received a Facebook Messenger call from somebody that had been noticing it on Facebook on what was going on with
Is this July the 4th?
In the post about.
Oh, July the 4th?
It'd be early morning, July 5th.
Early morning, okay.
The 5th. So early morning there, and I started reading into it, right? There were some Facebook posts. Then I got a call from Miss Christine. Christine called me up. I'm thinking it was 7:30-ish, 7:45 that morning. And we discussed what was going on. So I asked a lot of questions, physical description, and I asked some hard questions, mental health crisis, any kind of habits, anything like that. And basically what she told me is that her son had gone out the day before that on the 4th with a bunch of his friends. That's key, with a bunch of his friends. And they were partying on Horn Island. I mean, it's a big, and he didn't return home. So what from that phone conversation is I quickly say, hey, let's memorialize everything, right? Ask her to put it all to me in a text message. So from there, we communicated both in phone and on text. But if there was anything important that needed to be relayed, I wanted to make sure that I memorialized it, documented it, and I'd send a text message back. So starting that Sunday morning, the text messaging and communication started. My organization, we have a lot of volunteers in that area, and my vice president was there as well. And we started mobilizing people quickly to go out to Horn Island to start looking. We had some surface vessels, some boats, and drones.
Y'all check this out. If you need custom shirts, hats, or gear, check out Pure Choice Apparel. And check us. Got on a search, or did she say, hey, he's a model citizen, which is what I've heard, and everything was good. He didn't come home.
Absolutely. So she didn't say that there were any mental health crisis or any mental health issues going on, and explained to me about her son. Again, model citizen, great kid. Everybody's all-American, the guy everybody wanted to hang out with. Did say that he had been drinking the day before, but he was out with a bunch of his friends and didn't make it back home.
And the initial search effort, what did that look like? You said you guys had boats, you had people in the air. Was there any people physically on the island? Were there people in the water? Can you explain, what that initial effort was?
Sure. So we had boats that were in the water, and we sent people to Horn Island with a drone as well to start looking at that area. So immediately around Horn Island with surface vessels, what we call boats, as well as boots on the ground to start, the aerial search with drones. Now, I did reach out to the Coast Guard and ask them if they needed any air support as well. And they said that they had rotary wing in the air. I did have some fixed were available. They told me it was Jackson County Sheriff's Office, that it was their area and their jurisdiction. And they said they didn't need any additional aircraft. So we moved forward with the plan that we had with boats and boots on the ground there.
And while you guys were on the ground in the water, did you see anything that was concerning? Did you see anything that was an indication of an altercation or any signs of Nolan or anything in that initial search?
None at all. But what we did do, I put out a post, right? So we use social media. It's a huge tool. What we do is I'll make a video and have a missing persons poster, and I put that poster out, and we started to receive some phone calls and some messages. There were some people who said they may have seen him on land, This was later on Sunday, that they may have seen him in some of the surrounding municipalities. So again, not knowing what happened, not having any clue, we sent some people to check out those areas as well. But we continued our vessel search and our search in the water as well as on Horn Island. But moving forward from there is I started a very succinct operational plan to search later on in that next day that Jackson County Sheriff's Office was aware of.
Did you have any communication with Miss Christine after, you guys have done a search? I know you had initial communication when she asked for your help. And did you talk to her or communicate with her during the search or there right after the search?
Absolutely. We communicated all day. And I've got the text messages where we talked via text as well as where we spoke on the phone. So I kept her up to speed on what was going on, and she would feed me a little bit of information throughout the day. And again, it was in text. And as that search started to wind down, we again had another conversation. And I explained to her, hey, here's what's going on. As it starts to get dark and dusk comes in, we demobilize and then we start planning for that next day.
And did you get any indication that she was concerned about race or it being a factor in this or foul play or anything like that? Did you, when you first talked to her, because this is fresh, I don't think the media even had an understanding of how she felt being presented to them. You were one of the first people in this intimate time that she was searching for her son, had a chance to communicate with her. At this point in your communication with her, was there any indication that she was concerned about a racial dynamic or any foul play, or was it just a mom looking for, trying to find out what happened to her son?
It was a frantic mother worried about her child. And that's no indications of race, no indications of foul play. She reiterated a couple of times, Brandon, that, he went out with his friends. So it really made me to believe that it was a cohesive unit, a group of guys who went out to go party on the 4th of July on Horn Island. But again, no initial accusations of foul play or anything to do with race. Not at all.
And so you guys concluded your search, I believe, the day that he was discovered. Did you guys discover him? Did law enforcement discover him? And then walk me through what happened next with notifying Miss Christine and the family.
Sure. So the next day is really key. That Monday morning, we were communicating back and forth, and I had a fixed wing that was going up. It's an airplane at about 6:35 that morning, and I offered for her to go in the plane. I said, look, if you want to go up in the plane, the offer is there. I don't recommend it, but I need to at least express that offer to you and make it there for you. She declined that request. So I'm on my way there to the boat launch where the Tactical Operations Center was at Mars Lake. And she sent me a message that morning and said, where are we going to meet? As soon as we're done with the data dump on the phone, we'll meet up with you. So that made me believe that, hey, they were going to the police department, whatever it was, to do that data dump on the phone. And then we got the call, right? So somewhere, it was after there, I was 15, 20 minutes away from the boat launch. The sheriff's department called me, and then Christine called me right after that. They had obviously first notified Christine. But when she called me, I told her, hey, I'm 15 minutes out. Meet me at that boat launch. And we did. She met me there. When she pulled up, she came running to me, and it was one of those moments that you'll never forget. This was a grieving mother who knew in her heart that was her son that had been found. Gave me a big hug, man, a big bear hug. Mr. Elmo was there, and we sat in the parking lot. We sat on the ground in that parking lot for 15, 20 minutes, and we were exchanging tears, if I could put it that way. It was a super emotional time, and I knew that was probably the beginning of the hardest days of her life, right there sitting in that parking lot.
Wow. When you talked about the phone, did she indicate to you at any point that there was anything suspicious in the phone, or she just in, kind of a passing conversation that she mentioned she was going to send the phone to be downloaded? So did she mention anything other than the phone being downloaded to you about the cell phone, or whether or not she believed it was a crime committed in it or not?
So didn't say anything about a crime, but we did discuss the phone that Sunday. So the day before he was found, she called me up and we had a discussion about the phone. She said, hey, Josh, they want the phone. And she said she wasn't too comfortable with sending it to him or giving it or turning over the phone. And here's what I told her. I said, look, that phone was your son's phone, and you got every right to turn it in and to video everything that they're doing with the phone. Be there for it. If you don't trust the process or some concerns, get your phone and video what they're doing. If you're concerned about losing data, there it is. She seemed to be comfortable with that when I told her that. Look, I'm not law enforcement whatsoever, but I know that she's going through a hard time, and I just wanted to let her know that every part of the step with anything that she has, for her to document that she's afraid of losing some of the data or the integrity of that data.
Right. So in the early stages of the phone, she did express, without any coercion whatsoever that you know of, that she believed that there may have been reason for her to turn that phone over.
Absolutely.
And then Nolan was recovered. You met with her. You guys exchanged tears and I guess sadness for Nolan, who was from all accounts an incredible young man. And then what happened next? Did you guys ever go to actually identify the body, or what happened after that?
So this is a key part, right? So she asked me to be a part when they go to the coroner's office. So they didn't bring his body to that location. They brought his body to a secondary location, as the hospital, the coroner's office. And she asked me to be a part of it. Of course, yes, ma'am. Anything I can do to help you. So we got in a convoy and we went that way. We went to the coroner's office. Sat down at the table. It was myself, the family, Miss Christine, Mr. Elmore, the coroner. I was right by her. Coroner comes in, and of course, it's difficult. It's a difficult conversation for anybody to have. I'm sure you're familiar with them. The coroner said, he believes that it's Nolan. 99.9% sure, whatever the stat was, but he still wanted to get a swab or get some DNA so they could double check. Said, according to the appearance in the photographs you've seen, it appeared to be Nolan. But he also said something very key, that there was no initial appearance of foul play. So to me, immediately, what I thought was, no blunt force trauma, nothing visible right there, right? And obviously, there needed to be a further investigation, but the coroner did say that. The questions were asked, just some, hey, can we see him, blah, 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 these things. But also the question I asked was, hey, Mr. Coroner, can you please explain the process of how it's going to move forward? It's just one of those things that the family needs to understand. And what he did was explain how they're going to move Nolan to the crime lab so they could fulfill all the autopsies and everything that way. I was not a part of identification of the body. We immediately left. So if at some point that evening later on, we went to their house after the coroner's office, if they went back to identify, I don't know. I wasn't, but the immediate meeting with the coroner's office, there was no identification by myself or the family that I was aware of.
And based on, at this point, from all of your engagement with the family and also with elements of law enforcement, did you have any concerns of impropriety, meaning that you felt as if law enforcement wasn't or would not handle the case appropriately in the involvement that you had?
So from the level of engagement that I saw, let's base it on initial level of engagement. They had a lot of people that were involved with the search, and then immediately after as well. I mean, I was communicating with the sheriff's department closely thereafter. I did not observe or have a feeling of any lack of engagement or anything like that. I think they were engaged. And then as the case moved on, I believe their level of engagement was appropriate because they knew this case is under a microscope. Everybody's out there watching. It's international news.
And I want to just ask you a personal opinion about this, because one of the elements that we've been trying to get out to the world is because this has turned into a racial dynamic. And just on your experience, I don't know, how long have you been living in this area or, living in Mississippi around this Ocean Springs?
So I live in Louisiana, about an hour and 20 from Ocean Springs, all my life, 30 plus years. And old.
Being you got a big old gray beard.
Right.
being in that area your whole life, or majority of your life, like, do you notice any real racial tension? And I say real, I'm saying just in your opinion, is there a element of racial tension in either the Louisiana area or near Horn Island and the Ocean Springs area that you have personally experienced?
So there's this perceived element of racial tension in the South, right? Let's call it the South as a whole. I personally have not had any or observed any gross racial tensions whatsoever prior to this. I think that this case has exacerbated some, and there's been some outside influences that have exacerbated some racial tensions for whatever reason it is. We live in the South. Yes, there's a history and there's a past, and I understand that. But move forward with the way we're living, right? It's 2026. It's a difficult time, and it's a difficult time in the South. It's a difficult time nationwide, right? But let me say this. Let me put this out there real quick, is that I 110% support Miss Christine and what she's doing. She's a grieving mother, and I've said this from day one. There's no rule book. There's no playbook on how she should act or what she should do. Find the truth and trying to find answers. There's a lot of outside influence that's pushing her in whichever way it is or however it is. But again, I support her. She's got to find the truth so she can start that grieving and healing process. There's some disgusting things that are out there, and we just need to be able to differentiate from that, right?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that point, because there's been a huge concern of mine of trying to figure out what's stimulating this. When I spoke to some of the young men that were being accused of killing Nolan, they were saying that that initially it didn't appear that there were issues between Miss Christine, the boys looking for Nolan, and then all of a sudden it seems to be an issue of race and accusations, and it's almost like the community begin to break down, because it appears that even you, being a volunteer for the Cajun Navy, being able to, and being white, being able to go with Elmore and Miss Christine, and you guys shared the same sentiment of looking out for what happened to Nolan, and then it seemed like it turned. And from my observation, it seems like when the attorney Benjamin Crump and others got involved, it seemed to turn more in a activist political direction than just the generic direction of, hey, a community coming together to find Nolan. Now, that is my opinion. Now, you had a closer experience in this because you were in communication with Miss Christine and all of the above. What is your take on how this has played out since the very first time you got involved?
I don't necessarily disagree with your opinion. Okay. I've seen the communications with Christine and her family dwindle down after the hiring or onboarding of Mr. Crump. Now, again, I want to make sure that everybody understands I'm going to give the family the respective space that they need. And I will send them motivational messages. Just today I sent one, hey, Miss Christine, I know today's a tough day. It's your son's birthday. Just know that I'm here for you. 110%. If you need a shoulder to cry on, somebody to call, whatever it is, I'm here. Got to thank you, which is all I expected. But what I did was watch lengthy communications turn into emojis or the little heart and then thank yous. And it's fine. It's the natural progression of the way the relationship was. But I do feel that outside influence had something to do with it, without a doubt. And that's my opinion. Right. So it's unfortunate, a young man lost his life.
And there's this issue with the cadaver dog. I don't know the full details.
I want y'all to really pay close attention to this because the cadaver dogs was something that a lot of different news outlets brought up about. And shout out to the Cajun Navy. They provided or they offered a lot of resources at no cost, just to the family, whatever they needed. And I want people to stop getting so caught up in who Officer Tatum is and listen to the guy who's giving his real opinion, because he's giving very valid information. I always tell people, to me, Officer Tatum is like a bad black preacher, right? He'll give you some good news one day and then he'll lie to you the next day. It's okay. But at this point, I want you guys to really pay attention to all those resources that were offered to this family that could possibly allow them to get more answers and less assumptions down the road.
But I'm under the assumption, I hope you can clarify this for me, is that there was an initial request or an offering up of cadaver dogs to search one of the boats, I guess one of them that Nolan may have been on, and that was presented and it was rejected by Benjamin Crump. Are you associated with that, or can you explain that? Do you have more information than I do about this?
Sure. So I was the one who offered the cadaver dogs.
Oh, okay.
I had a conversation with the lead attorney. I had a conversation with the lead attorney, Liza Park. I've been trying to reach him for a couple of days, and I left message. Couldn't do it. I asked Christine, give me a phone number. I need to talk to somebody. So I sent a text message on, I believe it was the 13th, got a read, no response. And I called that next day on the 14th, had about a 24 minute conversation, but I offered up the services of the cadaver dogs, right? So these are human remain detection dogs. And I told him, I said, hey, look, I've offered them to the sheriff's department, but I'm offering the service to you as well. And here's how it plays out. Those dogs can go to the boat. They can do a search on that boat. And if they alert on that vessel, and they alert as they're working to smell for a cadaver, there's more than likely a pretty big chance that there was a body on that boat. But if they don't alert, it's just the inverse. There may not, and it's a pretty good chance that there wasn't one on there. She explained the concern about them cleaning the vessel. I can pretty much guarantee they didn't clean the vessel with the necessary chemicals or the process that needs to be cleaned. And then that was reconfirmed when I went and spoke to the young men as well, because they told me how they cleaned the boat. And they said, man, Josh, all we did was spray it down with fresh water, because that's a common practice whenever you remove a vessel from salt water. Just spray it down, get the salt of it, and go there. But what I told the lead attorney was, if you would like these services, we'll provide the resource, we'll provide the dogs. You're going to have to get the permission. If it's a warrant, if it's you just asking for permission to look at that vessel, that's on you, not on us.
So there, shout out to Jay Lord, giving us some valid information. This is Jay Gill here with the Cajun Navy, and as y'all heard, they offered the cadaver dogs. They even offered the family to, hey, we'll provide the dogs. Y'all just need to go get the subpoena or the warrant so that you can go search the boat. And like he mentioned, it's no way that they would have cleaned the boat well enough to get rid of any evidence that was possible, because he said it is normal for people to go home and spray down their boats because they were in salt water. And we all know salt water will rust up the boat, things of that nature. So it was normal to go wipe down your boat. But I thought it was amazing. We're going to watch a little bit more, but they offered a lot of resources. And I know a lot of people are going to be, because everybody went to blaming the Mississippi, but it's almost like we already knew Mississippi was crap. Why not? You went and got Crump, right? So why not do everything else you need to do to get true answers?
I would, as a mother, I would have taken every single, hey, you need our help? Yes. I don't know what I'm doing. Yes. Cadaver dogs, yes. You know, can we get a subpoena? Yeah, you know, what do I need to do next? I would have been asking tons of questions. And you know, if whatever the offered help they offered, I would accept it, all of it, because I would not have known anything to do. Yeah. You think we should do? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Whatever services you can provide. Yes, definitely. But
So it's just a few more minutes, and we'll get
yeah.
to any chats and any question.
About the dogs, you get the permission. What she said was, we'll have to really think about it. We didn't understand that if there's no alert, that means nobody. So
that's pretty. I mean, what do you think about? I mean, what do you think about that? Was that when she said that, was that suspicious to you, or was it just maybe somebody that don't understand how this process works, or you know, how did you feel about that? And it's just an opinion or a hunch of how you feel. Because when you said it just now to me, it's kind of weird that, you know, you're looking for Nolan. If I was Nolan's friend, I mean, I don't even know Nolan. Knowing what I know about Nolan right now, there is no stone that would be left unturned for me. And so with the cadaver dog potential, you know, how did you interpret that?
So I interpreted as there were concerns that the dog wouldn't alert. That was my interpretation. No alert, nobody, right? So of concern because they were looking to try and find the last location of Nolan. Yeah, it was a red flag. But here's what else I said. When I gave her a little piece of advice, me not being an attorney, but just a common sense kind of guy, I said, why don't you ask the family, you know, because I can't give you permission to search your boat. Why don't you ask the people who own the boat, say, hey, we want to run a cadaver dog on it. If they say, sure, no problem, that'll tell you something. But if they say no, right? So we never were returned. I never personally got an email or a call back. Hey, let's use those dogs. They could have went out somewhere else and used some other dogs. The conversation was that. But I will say this, 2 weeks later, the sheriff, Jackson County Sheriff's Office, did ask me to bring some cadaver dogs for another case that's in Ocean Springs. So they're fully aware of our capabilities, and they utilize us with those resources. So there's the cadaver dog story for you.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I just wonder, is there anything else that you have noticed? Because you live out there, you've been involved in this case. I'm sure you hear, you know, grumblings from people all around with theories and some conspiracy theories. Some people are out of their minds on social media, and some people may have some interesting information. Is there anything else that you know of that you'd like to add, and you want the world to know about your involvement of things that you've been able to be privy to out at Horn Island or even back on land?
Sure, and I've been to Horn Island many times, been out there for July 4th in years past. Here's a couple things I want to get very clear with people. Number one, I support Christine. Organization supports Christine. Number two, the threats and the vitriolic rhetoric, it needs to stop, man. The threats, it's not healthy for the environment. It's not healthy for what's going on. These young boys are taking a beating with threats. It's not good. Next thing is, you know, social media is a great tool. It can be your best friend, but it can be your worst enemy from time to time. Let's just watch what we say. You know, so you're watching, people are looking, you know, the mama Christine's looking at social media, the boys are looking at social media. These people have to move on with their lives. With all these crazy cockamamie stories, one lady said, oh, you know, he could have been dismembered and put in a fish box and put it back on the island. Come on, man. Let's use our noggin, not just to hold a hat on top of it, but let's use our head, right? Look, there's problems. There's racial tensions. Granted, got it. Let's be driven by love, and let's not be driven by anger, because when we're driven by anger, we make bad decisions. And I think we need to start making some good decisions in what we do and what we say.
I love that. I appreciate you, Josh. What ways can people who are watching this help and support the United Cajun Navy?
Sure. So we've got a website. We are donation driven. We're a 501c3. It's a United Cajun.
So shout out to the Cajun Navy, man, and Jay Gill. He actually talks about they found a young man just this past week that they did a search with that they've been looking for a while. Shout out Mary, welcome in, man.
Hey,
welcome in, Marty. But again, man, it's just another location. I mean, another resource that it seems like could have been used to a better advantage. And I don't know how people look at these things. And I feel like I know we probably missed it. Y'all probably missed it earlier in the interview, but he asked them about the communication between him and Christina, and it actually stopped. He said it went from long messages to just emojis. And then after that, he still kept sending his encouraging messages to the family, but the communication ceased. I'm sure that was guidance given to her, because if you also heard his initial communication with her, she ran up to him and said he was out with his friends. He was out with his friends. And now the whole story is they were never his friends, right? It was never nobody they knew. It was never everything's, and we're going to show you guys even in the next segment, text messages, conversations that were being had between Christina and Nolan. The whole thing just doesn't make sense anymore. Like, and I'm kind of with Supermac, what he said earlier. It's kind of like at this point, I think we know what it is.
Yeah.
And how do, again, how do people start to heal? Because there's still a lot of people following this case. There's a lot of people affected by Nolan Wells's loss, but then we get no closure. So just something to think about. J. Lloyd said, I'm off tomorrow. Are you guys on every night? The keys to the office are with my coworker that left for the dang dinner. It's the only quiet room in this place. Hit us up on the email, and me and Raina set something up with you for sure.
Yeah.
We can make ourselves available. And J. Lord, are you in the Mississippi area, man? It'd be great to have somebody on. We appreciate you, man. Appreciate you even staying around. For y'all who don't know, J. Lord said he had an actual channel himself, just due to all the malarkey in the cesspool around this, around a lot of the cases. They kind of backed off, but we'll appreciate, man. We'll love to have you up. He said, Marty in the chat. Mikey said the black community already convicted these boys with no evidence. We understand, Mikey. We understand, man. And we appreciate your opinion. We're just here bringing content and the facts. He said sanitized. Lori said, I got y'all copy. You guys seem rational, which is rare. Oh, man, let me read that one more time. Hallelujah. I got y'all copy. You guys seem rational, which is rare. People get emotionally invested with tunnel vision. Well, you have definitely found a home here, J. Lloyd. Souls has little to no emotions.
All facts over feelings all the time. All the time, J. Lord, all the time.
He said definitely. Yeah. He said no. I'm in Clearwater. Okay, Clearwater, Florida. Bird. It was the Idaho 4 case that made me hang up my Spurs. Oh, respect.
Yeah.
Well, you'll probably know a little bit about the Lancaster family then on Sunday. And Marty said, he said, I'm grateful. Yeah. We're grateful that you're here, man. All gratitude, man. We appreciate you being here. That means a lot from somebody who was in the content game doing this. So we appreciate it. Penny said, J. Lloyd, don't give Souls a big head. He would never live it. Come on, Penny. Oh, man, Penny. It's Friday, man. People act different on Friday. All right, Penny. All right. No, but we appreciate you guys, man. Again, like I said, between every segment, man, we're going to make sure we continue to keep the main thing as well. As we're talking about justice for Nolan Wells, we also want to talk about justice for the Lancaster family, for Malachi Lancaster, who lost his life as well through gun violence. It would have been gun violence, I guess that's how you want to talk about it. But the mother is it Sophia? I call her Sophie.
Sophie.
Okay. Sophie Lancaster, she will be here with us live on Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we told her she has the floor, so however long she wants to be on speaking. But we really want you guys to come out here and provide somebody real encouragement, real encouragement. Because it's nothing like having someone. And what I really like about her, she's going everywhere that's willing to spread her son's story. Mm-hmm. She doesn't care how big, how small, if you're new, if you're old, like she's just trying to spread for justice for Malachi. And it's super dope, man. I think y'all are going to really enjoy hearing her and hearing her speak and just talk about her son. So, and the case. And she's on it because she's sending Rain document. We're going to have document.
Yeah.
She said, I'll send you whatever you need. Like she's on top of it. So shout out again to Miss Sophie Lancaster and the Lancaster family, man. We appreciate you.
J. Lord said, I'm definitely interested. Lancaster is my family name on my mother's side. Okay. Might have said, if his head gets any bigger, he will float away.
I'm gonna let you live today, Marty. I'm gonna let you live.
J. Lord said, is this family from Kentucky by chance? I'm not totally for certain, but
this
incident happened down in Gainesville, Florida.
Yeah.
Or close to Gainesville, Florida. J. Lord said, I got channels that are trustworthy and will help spread the word. Ooh. And that's what she's looking for too. She's looking for us content creators who are unbiased, who will help her spread the word of what's going on. Penny said, it's all real as love in these parts.
Yeah. So